everybody, this is Chloe and very welcome to my YouTube channel today. Today I'm just going to show you guys around this magnificent newly built building, which is the site for our 2021 to 2022 biennial. As you can see, there are so many people around here since it's such a popular event. So what artworks can we actually see here? And what potential questions and problems could be provoked? Let's just follow me and go and find out then. So, since it's a massive exhibition, we're probably only going to focus on 5 different works from 2 gallery halls. And this is just a gallery hall I really want to introduce you guys to, because it really speaks to the problem of regional versus global. So basically, how do we incorporate the traditional Chinese media, philosophical source, and craftsmanship into the age of globalization and the epic of contemporary art? So what interesting source, inspirations, and possibilities can we have? So let's go and find out then. So next, I'm just going to introduce a piece of work I really like personally. I mean, when you look at the canvas, you might feel, oh, it's another monochrome canvas with rice paper and ink by another Chinese artist. So it's such a cliche, isn't it? But when I really read into the panel and understand the narrative provided by the artist, I find it's not the case. It's so infinitely interesting. So the artist generated his inspiration from stacks of books all around his home. When we think of stacks of books, we might feel, oh, it's such a simple, ordinary, mundane existence. But for the artist, he was really impressed by this linear visual language and this sort of sense of tranquility and order created by these, patterns of books. So he started to recreate with ink unfolded rice paper to create this kind of visual effect we see now, which is from like infiltrations of ink onto the paper to create different colors and also kind of arguably different sense of depths as well. So I think why this work is so interesting to me is that the artist really engaged his own personal experience with this media instead of, as many other practices did, try to address or even overstate the relationship for the media with the past, which ink and paper is such an important media for thousands of years of traditional Chinese painting. So yeah, I find this work, the enjoyment this work provides me is twofold. Firstly, the visual effect. Secondly, to read in panel was just to read like a prose poem. Let me just read a few lines for you, okay? The artist goes, resting on books, which is the name of the work, unfolds richness in simplicity and freedom in order. Through such repetition, I developed my self-trust. It's a special and private way for me to understand materials, myself, and the world. So it's so eloquent and passionate and interesting and inspiring work, I find. I don't know what you feel. So yeah, tell me how you feel in the comments. So yeah, I'll just show you the next one. So now we're at another brilliant work with beautiful narrative, just like a poetry. By poetry, I do not mean that the artist is trying to overstate or like using fluorescent language. Instead, his narrative is really closely engaged with his own personal experience and his concepts, and it's really touching. Let me just read a few lines for you so that you can give a sense. Okay. So he goes, I have an eye coming from the Eastern perspective, derived from my mother culture, and also from my personal, individualized way of gazing at the sunrise. I am a microscopic cell, consists of the cultural characteristics, which is shaped by the will of the Oriental culture and ideology. In my hands, bamboo is no longer an object of observation or reproduction. It's an extension of my body. Here across my gene, my vitality, and the form I strive to amplify. Therefore, every piece of work I made is like a broken tail I dragged behind. Bearing my body temperature, swimming, and struggling, they are all inseparable parts of my body. I mean, just to feel how beautiful this is and how passionate and how sentimental the artist it is to all the art he has ever produced. And from this statement, we can get a sense of the artist's own awareness of his position in this cultural context, and which makes very interesting contrast with the position of the symbol of bamboo that played a very important role in both Chinese and the so-called Oriental culture. So there's a sense of the private experience of gazing at the sunrise versus the collective conception and memory of the bamboo in our cultural context. So I do find that really interesting and eloquent and touching. So next, I'm just going to show you guys another work, but leave you to enjoy and think about it by yourself, not letting my interpretations affecting you. This work also raised the question of interpretation versus sensibility to me. You guys probably already found out that I'm the kind of very person who is especially interested in the panels, which are, in many cases, possible interpretations of the work provided by the artists themselves or the curators. Sometimes it is the beautiful narrative or brilliant concept written on the panel that really moved me and elevated the work, even if its form seems quite mundane or simplistic. Well, this work is quite the opposite. It is a multimedia work that consists of both an installation and 4 canvases. To me, the form is quite striking, and I kind of feel like all these visual details, the layers of black rice ink paper hanging from the ceiling, the slightly different color backgrounds of the canvases, and the word empire attached to some of the canvases. All of the details should be bearer of meanings. Behind all the aesthetic choices, there must be a coherent concept, as I thought. But the artist seems to not want to provide us with that. The panel of the work simply reads, "The artist employed a handmade rice ink paper to incorporate Oriental culture into the global contemporary." So I guess the artists probably do not want to disturb our experience of viewing by any provided interpretations. So the question is, should we always look so closely into the interpretation and expect artworks to have meaningful, academic, and self-consistent statements so that we can always evaluate them on an intellectual level? Or should we just consider the visual experience as primarily important, to really just enjoy and value the experience of indulging in its wonderful form? And just take a few seconds to stop there, forget about any other things, trying to feel it, engage with it without sensibility. What do you think? So next, I'm just going to introduce you a piece of painting that really makes me think, because it's an abstract painting, right? Sometimes I just feel like I'm that kind of really unpleasant, critical viewer because I used to be an art history student. And sometimes I always feel like if you want to do abstraction in the 21st century, then you probably need to justify yourself as an artist, because abstraction is something that has been done by numerous artists through 100 years of modern art history. So what's the story? What's the concept behind it to fit into the 21st century context? But this is work that really challenged my belief, because when I guide a group of audience, a group of art lovers into the gallery hall, and I shared my thoughts with them, and I was literally being like, "Don't you find this quite similar to Jackson Pollock?" And one of the ladies stopped me and she was like, "No, I don't think this is so similar to Jackson Pollock. I think this work has its own originality and dynamism." She said, "Look at the surface layer. The color was so dynamic, and it closely engaged with the color patterns in the background. And it really has its own vitality and dynamism." She said, "I really liked it." So that's a moment I realized people actually really like this painting. There were countless people just standing there taking pictures I mean, amazed by its spectacular color and its monumental size. So I think the question really is, should we always be so critical and academic and be like, you should not do anything so similar to things that has been done in art history before? Or should we be grateful for artists to bring such a great form in front of our eyes in 21st century in the local Chinese context to the mass Chengdu audiences? So yeah, what do you think? So there are just some of my thoughts and feelings towards 4 pieces among over 500 of exhibits in this biennial. I mean, it's a shame I don't get to share with you all of them, but so far I hope you liked it. So what are some of your thoughts and feelings towards them? Please let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you next time.